Have you ever noticed that sometimes, as we reach a certain age, we carry around a lot of things that no longer serve us, expectations, fears, old habits? All of it accumulates like a weight we bear without even questioning it. And the interesting thing is that as we grow older, we have the chance to let go more, to free ourselves. After 65, your life doesn't have to be defined by what it was, but by what you can still do, and above all, by what you can let go of. Today we're going to talk about 9 things you can, and perhaps should, leave behind to live a wiser, fuller old age. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in choosing which burdens we want to carry and which are no longer necessary. And what we're going to discover together is that by letting go of what doesn't serve you, you make room for a life that's more serene, more free. I'm Gabriel, and if it's your first time here, I invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Stay until the end, because I'm certain these lessons can completely transform the way you live this stage of your life. Let's get started. Number 1, the fear of irrelevance. One of the heaviest burdens we tend to carry after 65 is the fear of becoming irrelevant. As the world keeps moving forward, it's easy to feel like we no longer have a place, that our voices don't matter as much as they once did. After all, society often seems obsessed with youth, speed, and innovation. This can make us believe that as we grow older, our worth fades, that we become invisible. But let me tell you something. Your worth has never been tied to the pace of change, but to the depth of what you've lived, to what you can share and teach. This fear of becoming irrelevant is an illusion. Why? Because relevance isn't measured by the number of things you do or what you own, but by the quality of the connections you create and the wisdom you offer. Have you noticed that many younger people, those who seem to have the world at their feet, often turn to someone older for guidance when they face a crossroads? That's no accident. Experience can't be bought or rushed. It's something you already have simply because you've lived. Philosopher and writer Viktor Frankl said, "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose." And that meaning, that purpose, isn't found by keeping up with the frantic pace of a world that often loses sight of what truly matters. Your purpose after 65 may lie in the wisdom you've gained, in the stories only you can tell, and in your ability to provide a perspective that younger generations simply can't have yet. Think about it. If over the course of your life you've been a mother, a father, a mentor, a worker, a friend, what part of that stops having value now? None of it. Your worth is intrinsic, and we often underestimate how much impact we can still have simply by being present, by listening, by sharing from a place of calm and depth. The fear of irrelevance makes you forget what's most important, that you don't need to compete for a place because your place is here simply by being who you are. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reminds us of a truth that resonates especially in this stage of life. A person's worth is measured by the worth of what they focus on. What truly determines our value isn't external recognition, but the things to which we devote our attention and energy. If you choose now to focus on what truly matters, nurturing your relationships, enjoying simple moments, sharing your wisdom, your life will be more meaningful than ever. Let me tell you a story. I knew a woman, Anna, who after retiring felt deeply out of place. For years, her identity was tied to her career. She was an excellent teacher, loved by her students, respected by her colleagues. But when she retired, it felt like the world forgot her. For a while, she fell into the trap of thinking that without her professional role, she had nothing of value to offer. But one day, a former student approached her to thank her, not for the lessons, but for something much deeper. for listening to her during a difficult time, for giving her confidence when she needed it most. That was Anna's awakening. She realized that her impact went far beyond the walls of a school. She began offering her time as a mentor in her community, teaching from her home, and soon she discovered she had never been more useful or more loved. Anna let go of the fear of not being seen, because she understood that her relevance didn't depend on a title, but on the mark she left on others. So let me ask you, what would happen if you let go of that fear of being irrelevant? How would your daily life change if you knew that what you have to offer, your presence, your experience, your perspective, is exactly what the world needs now? The fear of irrelevance is an illusion that pulls you away from what truly matters: the present, your relationships, your peace. Letting it go isn't just freeing, it's essential for living fully. Don't worry about whether the world is moving on without you. Your greatest contribution isn't in keeping up, but in offering what only you can give. The knowledge you've acquired, the wisdom that comes only with the years. Number 2, relationships that drain you. Throughout life, we gather relationships. Some have brought us immense joy, support, and growth. Others, however, have done the opposite. They've drained us, emotionally exhausted us, and often we've held on to them out of habit or fear of being alone. Reaching 65 is an invitation to reassess these relationships with a clearer perspective and let go of those that no longer bring anything positive to your life. It's time to free yourself from connections that rob you of your energy. You might wonder, isn't it a bit selfish to step away from certain people, especially after so many years? But here's the crucial point. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. If a relationship constantly wears you down, makes you feel less than, or simply no longer fits the life you want to lead, then keeping it doesn't benefit you or the other person. Remember the words of Buddhist philosopher Thich Nhat Hanh. We must learn to let go simply because holding on to something that hurts us is more harmful than letting it go. Toxic relationships aren't always easy to spot because they don't necessarily involve direct or obvious mistreatment. They might be those friendships that always bring a new drama, that complain constantly without seeking solutions, or that make you feel guilty for not always being available. Or they might be family relationships where affection has become tangled with obligation and resentment, creating a cycle of emotional strain with no way out. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care for these people, it means you're choosing to prioritize your well-being. A story that illustrates this is Ricardo's. At 70, he realized he spent more time worrying about others' problems than enjoying his own life. He had spent years meeting the emotional demands of an old friend who, despite his advice and support, never changed anything. Every conversation left Ricardo feeling drained. One day, he understood that his help wasn't improving the situation. In fact, it was preventing his friend from taking responsibility for his own life. So, with respect, Ricardo began to distance himself. It wasn't easy, but by doing so, he started to experience an emotional freedom he hadn't felt in years. This kind of release is important because, as Seneca reminds us, it's not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. The reality is that every minute you spend in a relationship that drains you is time you could be using to care for yourself, to connect with people who lift you up, or simply to enjoy your life in peace. So what can you do? First, take an honest look at the relationships in your life. Ask yourself, do I feel better after spending time with this person, or do I feel drained? Is it a reciprocal relationship, or am I the only one giving? If you find that certain relationships no longer give you what you need, don't be afraid to set boundaries. Saying no is an act of self-compassion, and in some cases, it might be necessary to take a permanent step back. This isn't an act of rejection, but a way to tell yourself that you deserve to be surrounded by people who respect and value who you are now. On the other hand, As you let go of these draining connections, you start to make space for healthier, more genuine relationships. You might find that there are old friends you haven't spoken to in years who could reconnect with you in much more positive ways. Or perhaps you'll discover that you're ready to open yourself to new friendships with people who share your values and current lifestyle. Remove the relationships that drain you from your life, and you'll find yourself with more energy to enjoy what truly matters: your well-being, your passions, and the people who appreciate you for who you are, not for what they can take from you. Number 3, attachment to lost youth. One of the most common traps as we age is nostalgia for our youth. We look at old photos, remember the things we used to do, and somehow cling to the idea that those days were better. This attachment to lost youth is a way of resisting the natural flow of life. But what if, instead of lamenting what you no longer are, you celebrated who you are now? Letting go of that attachment isn't a loss, it's a liberation. Philosopher Alan Watts put it beautifully when he said, "Trying to define yourself by what you were is like trying to hold water in your hands. All you can do is let it flow and get wet in the process." Youth is like flowing water. Trying to hold onto it only leads to frustration. Yet what we often fail to see is that life after 65 can be fuller, richer, and more meaningful than at any other stage. Youth brings energy and possibilities, but maturity offers perspective, wisdom, and freedom. Think of it this way. In your youth, you likely had ambitions, responsibilities, and often felt trapped by the urgency of meeting life's demands. Maybe you felt pressured to be someone, to build a career, to start a family, or to live up to external expectations. Now, after 65, those roles and obligations no longer define you. Now you have the time and freedom to simply be yourself without so many constraints. In fact, psychological studies by influential developmental psychologist Erik Erikson show that old age is a crucial time for inner growth. Erikson spoke of ego integrity, which refers to the ability to accept your life as it was, with its achievements and failures, and find peace with what you've lived. This is only possible if you stop comparing yourself to who you once were and begin to value what you've learned and what's still left to discover. True youth isn't in the body, but in a spirit that keeps learning. Let me tell you a story. I met a man named Joaquin, who upon reaching 70 found himself constantly comparing his current life to his younger days. He had been a passionate runner, and in his mind he kept recalling the marathons he'd run, the medals he'd won, the recognition he'd received. However, in recent years, he had fallen into deep sadness because his body could no longer perform as it once had. He was so attached to his past self that he refused to accept any other way of living. One day, after a conversation with his son, Joaquin decided to try something new. He stopped trying to run as he had before and instead began to walk every morning, enjoying his time in nature. What he discovered was that he didn't need to run to feel alive. He just needed to be at peace with what his body and his life allowed him to do at that moment. As he let go of his attachment to youth, he found a new kind of well-being, deeper and more lasting. By letting go of the attachment to what once was, you can start to enjoy the present fully. You can see that your current life has a different pace, but also more tranquility, more time for reflection, and for doing what you truly love. Marcus Aurelius said, "Time is like a river. The events of the past flow quickly and once gone cannot be seen again. But new waves keep coming, and that is what you should look upon." Youth is just one of those waves that has already passed. Clinging to it is like trying to stop the river of life. But if you can let it go, you'll begin to see that each new wave brings new experiences and new opportunities to enjoy your existence from a deeper, richer perspective. Stop looking in the mirror for the person you once were and start valuing the person you've become. Attachment to youth keeps you from embracing the greatness of the present, and by letting it go, you open yourself to a life that's richer and more in tune with who you truly are now. Number 4, the need for approval. Reaching 65 should be a time of personal liberation, yet many of us remain trapped in the need for others' approval. From a young age, we're taught that to be valued, we must meet the expectations of others. Please family, gain friends' acceptance, excel at work. But at this stage in life, continuing to seek external approval is a trap that steals your peace. It's time to stop looking for validation outside and start finding it within. Stoic wisdom reminds us that what truly matters isn't what others think, but what we think of ourselves. Epictetus said, "Don't seek for things to happen as you wish, rather wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow well." Similarly, don't seek others' acceptance or approval. If you live according to your own values and principles, your life will be more authentic and serene, free from the constant pressure of meeting others' expectations. Think about it. If we live our lives always trying to please others, how much of our true selves do we leave behind? Over the years, it's easy to become a diluted version of ourselves to avoid conflict, keep harmony, or just to feel accepted. But over time, this constant search for validation distances us from who we really are. The beauty of this stage in life is that you no longer have to prove anything to anyone. You've lived, you've learned, and now you have the right and the responsibility to be true to yourself. This brings up a powerful psychological concept: radical authenticity. Psychologist Carl Rogers, one of the pioneers of humanistic psychology, believed that true fulfillment comes from being authentic, from living as who we are, not as others expect. Rogers said, to be fully honest with oneself is a good exercise. And at 65, it's the perfect time to practice it. Living authentically means that although others may have opinions about how you should live, you are no longer defined by them. Only you know what you need to be at peace. I'd like to invite you to reflect on a practical exercise that can help you let go of the need for approval. The next time you face a decision, big or small, ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I think someone else expects me to? If the answer is the latter, you're likely seeking an external validation you don't need. The only approval that truly matters is your own. Think of life as a journey in which, in the early stages, we carry a suitcase full of others' expectations. What our parents wanted us to be, what our friends thought was right, what society taught us to achieve. But at this stage of the journey, it's time to open that suitcase and start removing what no longer serves you. What if, for the first time in years, you began to make decisions solely based on what makes you happy? An essential aspect of Stoicism is the idea that while we can't control others' opinions, we can control our actions and decisions. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, "Others will live as they want. I will live as I must." This doesn't mean you're indifferent to others' feelings. It means you understand that you can't live your life based on expectations that aren't yours. It's about choosing inner peace over external approval. Letting go of the need for approval doesn't happen overnight, but little by little, if you focus on your own values, you'll begin to feel a sense of freedom you didn't experience before. The world will always have an opinion on what you should do, but at the end of the day, the only voice that counts is yours. Make this stage of your life a celebration of your authenticity, because you've come this far not to keep fulfilling expectations, but to be the best version of yourself. If you're enjoying this video so far and feel that you're discovering new ways to let go of what you no longer need to live a freer and wiser old age, I invite you to subscribe and hit the like button. This helps me keep creating content that truly adds value for those who, like you, seek to live this stage with purpose and serenity. Stay tuned until the end, because lesson number 9 could be the key to reclaiming more energy and well-being than you imagine. Don't miss it. Let's continue. Number 5, the desire to accumulate more things. After 65, it's time to reconsider your relationship with material things. For much of your life, you may have focused on acquiring more. A bigger house, the latest gadget, more clothes, more furniture, more of everything. However, there comes a point when the desire to accumulate stops making sense and starts becoming a burden. Do you really need more things, or do you need more space to enjoy what you already have? Society constantly pushes us toward consumption, making us believe that we're always missing something in order to be happy. But at this stage of life, true freedom comes from letting go, not from accumulating. Freeing yourself from excess not only allows you to live more lightly, but it also gives you a sense of control and peace. Stoic philosophy reminds us that real wealth is not in what you own, but in how little you need. As Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Now is the time to question whether the things around you truly contribute to your happiness or are simply taking up space. Imagine your life as a house filled with items you've gathered over decades. Some of these items have sentimental value, of course, but how many of them do you really need to live a full life? How many are there just out of habit? Letting go of the unnecessary can be a freeing process, not just physically, but emotionally as well. By releasing the desire to have more, you begin to appreciate what truly matters: experiences, moments, and people. A study from the University of California found that cluttered homes generate more stress and anxiety. In contrast, decluttering brings calm and mental clarity. This doesn't apply only to objects, but also to activities and commitments that no longer serve you. Simplifying your surroundings and reducing the noise of accumulation is a form of self-care that gives you more time and energy for what you truly value. So where do you start? Here's a simple but powerful exercise. Pick a room in your home or a small area and go through each object there. Ask yourself, does this really bring me joy or utility? If the answer is no, thank it for the time it was with you and let it go. Make space not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. You'll find that this feeling of lightness starts to expand throughout your life. Letting go of the desire to accumulate is an act of wisdom. True wealth now lies not in what you have, but in the ability to live with the essentials, cherishing each thing that remains in your life for its real meaning. Number 6, the need to always be right. Throughout life, many of us have spent a lot of energy defending our ideas, proving we're right in arguments, debates, or decisions. But there comes a time, especially after 65, when the need to always be right loses its real value. Instead of bringing satisfaction, it can create unnecessary tension and take us away from what truly matters: peace and the quality of our relationships. Stoicism teaches us that serenity comes from not being swept away by passions, and often the insistence on being right is exactly that, a trap of the ego. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." How many opportunities to learn and grow have we lost because we held on to our version of events? What we can leave behind is the urge to win arguments, to impose our perspective. As we age, we realize that life is about much more than being right. It's better to have peace than to win a debate. Think about all the times when insisting on your position only left you exhausted or distanced from someone you cared about. Was it worth it? In hindsight, many of those victories probably seem hollow. Setting ego aside makes space for something far more valuable: listening. Truly listening to others without the need to correct them allows us to connect on a deeper level, learn from their experiences, and see things from perspectives we may not have considered. By no longer trying to win every conversation, you give yourself permission to be present, to engage with openness, and to accept that sometimes the wisest choice is simply to stay silent. Swiss psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge." And it's true. Often we rush to correct others without fully understanding their point of view because pride drives us to react, to judge. But letting go of that reaction offers a new way of living, one that is more serene, based on understanding rather than correction. Think about your closest relationships with your children, friends, or partner. How many minor conflicts could have been avoided if you had let go of the need to always be right? Now is the time to practice humility, not as an act of submission, but as a conscious choice to live with greater emotional ease. It's not about agreeing with everything, but about choosing your battles and recognizing that often what's really at stake isn't the truth, but the relationship. From now on, whenever you feel the impulse to correct someone or impose your opinion, pause. Ask yourself, is this really important? Is it worth sacrificing my peace or my relationship for this moment? Most of the time, you'll find the answer is no. Letting go of the need to always be right is an act of wisdom. In doing so, you not only gain inner peace, but also strengthen your relationships. Remember, true greatness isn't in proving you know more, but in having the wisdom to choose well-being over ego. Number 7, the struggle against physical changes. One of the greatest challenges we face as we age is accepting the physical changes that come with time. The body is no longer what it used to be, energy wanes, wrinkles become more visible, and activities that once came easily now require more effort. But the real burden isn't the physical change itself, it's our resistance to accepting it. Fighting against the aging process is a battle that can't be won, and by trying to do so, we only prolong our frustration and discomfort. It's natural to want to stay active and healthy, and that's admirable, but what we can let go of is the obsession with stopping or reversing the inevitable. Society constantly bombards us with messages about how to rejuvenate, how to look younger, how to fight aging. But in truth, aging isn't an enemy to defeat, it's a process to accept with dignity. Each wrinkle, each sign of age is a testament to a life lived, not a mark that needs to be erased. In his wisdom, Seneca said, "People have no time to understand anything. They rush after superficial things. They pass through life lamenting what they cannot change." And he was right. What use is it to lament that the body is no longer what it was if we can focus our energy on what is within our reach, caring for it and respecting it in this new stage? The body changes, but the way you treat and accept it can make a huge difference in how you experience aging. A healthier approach is to adapt to these physical changes instead of resisting them. If you once enjoyed running long distances, but now find it challenging, try walking in nature. If you used to feel unstoppable during long days of physical work and now tire more quickly, adjust your pace. Accepting your current limits isn't giving up. It's understanding that life changes and each stage has its own rhythm and beauty. Wisdom lies in flowing with these changes, not fighting against them. Here, it's useful to remember a principle of acceptance psychology that promotes well-being at all ages: radical acceptance. This idea teaches us that by accepting without resistance what we cannot change, we find peace and a sense of relief. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means letting go of the energy spent fighting the inevitable and redirecting it toward what you can truly enjoy and care for. Imagine for a moment that your body is like a ship that has sailed through many waters over the years. Sure, it's no longer as fast as it once was, and some parts show wear, but it has gained resilience and strength that only time can provide. Instead of lamenting that it's no longer the ship it once was, why not celebrate how far it's come and how many storms it has weathered? Facing physical changes with serenity allows you to live with greater emotional ease. By letting go of the need to hold on to a youthful body, you free yourself from immense social and personal pressure. True youth lies in your ability to adapt, to continue enjoying life through a body that remains your faithful companion even as it changes. Remember the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson. Adopt the pace of nature, her secret is patience. Nature doesn't rush or fight against the passage of time. It adapts and moves forward. So can you. Accept your physical changes, care for your body with respect, and let go of the frustration of wanting to be what you once were. This is the time to enjoy who you are now, with all the experience and wisdom that time has given you. Number 8, the resistance to asking for help. Throughout our lives, we're taught to be independent, to solve things on our own, and to value self-sufficiency as a sign of strength. And of course, we've spent years doing just that, facing challenges, making tough decisions, and moving forward on our own. But there comes a point, especially after 65, when the resistance to asking for help becomes an obstacle rather than a virtue. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's an act of intelligence and humility. Stoicism teaches us that we are part of a community and that a fulfilling life includes knowing when to lean on others. Seneca put it clearly, "The wise man wants to be in debt to others, but he doesn't want others to be in debt to him." In other words, the wise person knows how to accept help because he understands that he can't do everything alone. And in asking for help, he also honors the person who offers their support. But accepting this isn't always easy. Pride, that inner voice saying, "I can handle it all," can become an obstacle. So how can we take the first step? Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine Isabel, a 70-year-old woman who had always been the pillar of her family. Throughout her life, she solved problems, took care of her loved ones, and never asked for anything in return. But recently, Isabel began having trouble with her mobility. The stairs in her home, which she had always climbed with ease, became a challenge, and carrying grocery bags was no longer as simple as before. Yet, she insisted on doing everything alone. Why? Because asking for help made her feel like she was losing control of her life. One day, her daughter found her exhausted after climbing the stairs with her groceries. Concerned, she said, "Mom, let me help you. You don't have to do this alone." At first, Isabel resisted, almost irritated by the suggestion, but later she thought about it. What was she really gaining by insisting on doing everything herself? She realized that holding on to that pride only brought her more exhaustion, and even worse, kept her from connecting with her family in a different way. Accepting help wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of wisdom. She no longer had to carry everything on her own. Stoicism also teaches us to let go of false notions of control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "One of the most important things to learn is to accept the things you cannot change." In this case, Isabel realized she couldn't change the fact that her body was no longer the same, but she could change her attitude toward receiving help. What happened next? Isabel gradually started asking for help, not only with physical tasks, but also with emotional support. She began to share more with her loved ones about how she was feeling, and what she discovered was a new kind of connection. By letting go of her resistance, she not only found relief, but also strengthened her relationships. When you ask for help, you allow others to show their love and support in ways they couldn't before. Here's the key. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a recognition of our limits. By letting go of that resistance, you make space for growth, connection, and a life with less stress. Try this exercise. Ask yourself, What is stopping me from asking for help right now? Then take the first step. It could be something simple, like asking a friend to accompany you to a medical appointment or seeking advice in a difficult situation. Remember that by asking for help, you're also sharing life with others. Independence is valuable, but interdependence, supporting one another, is what truly allows us to live fully. Number 9. The vices that hold you back. It's never too late to let go of those habits you know are harming you. Smoking, excessive alcohol, unhealthy food, these are vices that, over time, not only affect your body, but also your quality of life. After 65, making the decision to leave these vices behind is an act of self-love and wisdom. And most importantly, it's never too late to do it. You might think that at this age, the damage is done and that the effort may not be worth it. But nothing could be further from the truth. The perfect time to give up these vices is always now, because every decision matters. Your body has an incredible ability to recover and improve, even with the smallest changes. Each day you decide to quit smoking, reduce alcohol, or eat better, you're giving your body the chance to be stronger, healthier, and more at peace. Philosopher Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. In the same way, vices are habits, but so is the process of letting them go. Quitting smoking or cutting back on alcohol may seem difficult, but each small step in the right direction brings you closer to a healthier, freer life. And what better time to do this than now, when you have the time and wisdom to focus on what truly matters, your well-being? Letting go of these vices has a profound impact. Quitting smoking not only improves your lung health, but it can boost your energy, help you breathe better, and reduce the risk of serious complications. Excessive alcohol, though it may seem harmless, affects your sleep quality, mind, and body. Reducing your intake brings mental clarity and better rest, two essentials for fully enjoying each day. And while unhealthy or excessive eating is tempting, it ultimately drains rather than nourishes your body. Choosing more conscious eating isn't about deprivation, but about selecting what genuinely makes you feel good. You have a great ally on your side. The years ahead can be fuller and healthier if you make these decisions today. A Harvard study found that even people who quit smoking or significantly reduce alcohol after age 65 experience notable improvements in health and quality of life. This means that no matter how many years you've lived with those vices, every step toward a healthier life has a positive impact. A good exercise to start is to redefine your relationship with these vices. Ask yourself, why are they still in my life? Is it out of habit, convenience, social custom? Once you understand this, seek alternatives that offer the same relief without negative consequences. If you enjoy drinking at social events, try swapping it for healthier drinks without losing the company of friends. If food is your weakness, look for recipes that are equally delicious yet nutritious. Changes don't have to be drastic, just conscious. Wisdom lies in knowing when it's time to let go of what no longer serves you, and these vices are anchors that hold you back from living freely. Letting go of smoking, excessive alcohol, and unhealthy eating isn't a sacrifice. It's an open door to a lighter, freer, healthier life. It's never too late to start, and every day that you choose to let go a bit more, you're building a more fulfilling life. Remember that true strength isn't in holding on to habits that harm you, but in letting go of what you no longer need. The best decision you can make is to care for yourself, because in doing so, you're choosing to live longer and better. Today can be the first day of a new stage in which you feel more in control of your body, your health, and your life. We've traveled a deep path, reflecting on what we can let go of after 65 to live with more serenity, freedom, and above all, wisdom. Throughout life, we accumulate so many things: fears, expectations, habits that no longer serve us, and sometimes even vices that hold us back. But the wonderful part of this stage is that we still have the ability to let go, to consciously choose what we want to keep and what we're ready to release. This process isn't easy, I know, but it's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Life after 65 isn't the end. It's a new opportunity to live with more fullness and purpose. A true Stoic knows that wisdom isn't about clinging to the past, but about moving forward lightly, carrying only what truly matters. By letting go of what weighs you down, you make space for what lifts you up. Peace, gratitude, and the joy of each day as it is. Remember, you're not alone on this path. Many of us, over the years, seek to live with more awareness and purpose, and by releasing the unnecessary, we allow ourselves to live better, to share more, and to enjoy life with greater calm. My name is Gabriel, and if this is your first time on the channel, I invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the topics we'll be discussing. And if you've made it this far, it means you're serious about your personal growth, and that deserves recognition. So, to know who's truly committed and stayed until the end, comment with the phrase, "I am Stoic," and let me know where you're listening from. I'd love to hear which country you're tuning in from and how these reflections are impacting your life. Don't leave without sharing this video with your loved ones. There might be someone in your life who needs to hear these words today and gain a fresh perspective. Sometimes, a small piece of advice can make a big difference. See you in the next video.